This story illustrates how mind over matter is equally amazing as it is terrifying. In 1992, in Surat, India, 27-year-old Aditya Kuruvilla was presumed to be dead and burned alive in his apartment. The residents in the building said that at night a fire erupted directly from his unit, sending everyone into a panic as they all rushed to safety while many of them attempted to stop the fire. They called out to Aditya in hopes to arouse him from his room that was engulfed with flames, but there were none that could stop the fire nor get in to retrieve Aditya. They said the fire made no attempt to spread beyond the confines of his home, and they were forced to watch helplessly in horror as the fire raged on for 5 hours straight. Daylight had struck by the time the fire finally relented in his apartment, and everything in it was a smoldering crisp. They long had thought Aditya gone, and those brave enough went in to search and confirm his remains. In his bedroom, they found his bed entirely buried in debris. They carefully removed all of it, and they were astonished to find Aditya in his bed. He was covered in soot, but reasonably intact with no major burns on his body. This left the onlookers baffled as everything around him was burnt beyond recognition, but this dealt an even more crushing blow to those who knew him as they could empathize with the peaceful look on his face as he laid there. They thought he must have suffocated from the smoke in his sleep. When the authorities came to remove his body, they were completely awestruck to see Aditya awaken as if from a deep sleep. Aditya was in shock and totally confused. You see, Aditya would explain later that the night before he was performing an ascending flame meditation. The week before he was fired from his company position, this being the tipping point in his already stress-filled life. He said at that time his troubles were tumultuous and he felt life coming down on him like a storm, and it forced him to his knees. Aditya, desperate for release from his worrying about his future, he would turn to Agni, the Hindu god of fire, in prayer. His fire is equally that of the sun as it is lightning and the domestic and sacrificial hearth. He was to consume all his problems in a cleansing flame and purify his mind to once again know peace. He laid in bed with his eyes closed to the world and in meditation, chanting mantras, and watching the drama of his mind unfold. He said he never saw Agni, but he saw and felt a real palpable flame come over him. Stating one by one, I threw every disturbing thought that surfaced into the fire. Among them was his health, his now uncertain living arrangements, and the disapproval of his family. One by one I threw it in. The fire made me terribly afraid, but I was more afraid of my worrying mind, so I threw myself into the flame. He said he even threw his long-time dream of owning his own IT company so as to free himself of the disappointment, saying eventually everything had been enveloped in the flame and only I remained. I had cleared the field of my mind and was at peace and found solace in the fire's cleansing. He woke up to see his apartment in ashes and thought it was another virtual manifestation of his meditation. He thought it a dream reflecting the aftermath of his mind. The authorities too were baffled, and they couldn't seem to pinpoint the source of what started the fire. Aditya said that moment he could have plunged deeper into grief, knowing all he accumulated in value was gone in smoke as well. But in seeing his family and friends overjoyed at him being alive, it instead gave him a greater sense of appreciation for life. He had been given a new slate and couldn't complain of anything. Since then he went on to create his own successful multi-million-dollar IT company and is generally doing well in life. He said his life that day changed forever.